Welcome to the latest iteration of our series of community conversations where we explore the cultural impact that members of the Levine community are making. My name is Evan Meier, and I teach music theory and composition here at Levine. As the holiday season is now underway, we're taking a look at how winter holiday music can bring people together in shared song. This conversation leads into our upcoming Wassail event in Mount Pleasant on December 13th, which will be led by today's guest, Micah Hendler. Micah is the founder and artistic director of the Jerusalem Youth Chorus, a choral and dialogue program for Palestinian and Israeli teens. He also serves as musician in residence at Addis Israel Congregation in Washington, D.C. Micah regularly leads community sing events here at Levine, which welcome participants of all ages and abilities to come together to make music. Micah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to start by asking a question that I think maybe speaks to many of the projects that you're currently doing. I watched your TED Talk, and you've said that human beings are hardwired to trust each other more when singing together. Could you expand a bit on that for us? What is it about music, and particularly shared singing, that allows or facilitates dialogue between people?
Sure. Yeah, so it's one of the things actually that's my favorite sort of fun fact about group singing is that it's one of the few human activities that releases oxytocin in the brain, which is a trust hormone that is, if you think about sort of evolutionarily, maybe like many, many tens of thousands of years ago, when humans were maybe around a campfire at dark and are trying to sort of protect themselves against the elements, and they're around the campfire singing songs. And there sort of debates also in the academic community about whether even singing or speech, which came first, right? But there's something like very fundamental about singing together that has an element of defining who we are as a group. Like, it is something that brings community and has always been designed to do that. And so there's a way in which, particularly in the times that we're living in that are so hyper individualized and where we're becoming further and further and further apart from each other, that I think the power of communal singing to really bring people back together, I think is vital.
Yeah, and I think if you think about the way that the majority of people experience music, it's largely through recordings.
Exactly.
And this is giving everyday people, not necessarily trained musicians, an opportunity to sing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I wanted to talk about the Jerusalem Youth Chorus, which you founded in 2012. And it's a program for Israeli and Palestinian teens from East and West Jerusalem. And it creates a space for music and dialogue. And the group has gone on to perform for the BBC, on Stephen Colbert's show. And I saw that you all went on America's Got Talent. I could see you conducting next to Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how this organization got started.
Sure. So it really naturally evolved out of the most powerful experiences that I had growing up and growing up here in DC and taking many different types of lessons and musical experiences here at Levine, particularly community sings with Dr. Barnwell. When I apprenticed with her, I saw the ways that music not only could bring people together in a fundamental way, but also be used as a vehicle for social and political change. That was sort of one stream of things. And then the other was growing up in DC in the Jewish community. I grew up with a pretty one-sided narrative around everything that was happening in the Middle East. And it wasn't until I ended up in a dialogue program and met Palestinians for the first time in the context of friendship, in the context of a deep conversation about our truths and about things that we'd experienced, it blew my mind. And I saw the ways that my own education had closed my mind until I actually had conversations with people who came from a different experience. And so that I saw to be a very, very powerful experience. In the process of pursuing more dialogue work, I saw that music, and specifically communal singing, could play this same kind of community building role, even in a context where people supposedly have nothing in common and are sort of brought up to hate each other and blame each other for all of the things that have been hard and terrible in their lives. There's a way that music can create a sense, as I was saying, of shared identity, of who we are, a new we. And within that we, there can be new values like listening or like empathy, or it's okay for people to disagree and still care about each other. Like all of those things that are not dominant values here in the US right now, unfortunately, and certainly not in Jerusalem. There's a way of creating a different kind of a space, and then within dialogue process to really go deep into that. So I was diving really into what is the intersection of these things throughout college. I had studied Hebrew, I studied Arabic, I studied different types of Middle Eastern music, and eventually wrote my senior thesis on like, is it possible to basically bring these two things together in a sustained way on the ground in Jerusalem? And then after graduating from college, took the crazy option and tried to do it.
Right. Well, why don't we turn to one of these arrangements where you combined a Christmas song, Carol of the Bells, with it's got a North African
kind of polyrhythm situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we take a little listen to that?
Cool.
It's funny that you mentioned polyrhythm because this is the song I used to teach 2 against 3.
There it is.
You got them clapping.
Yeah, and then half of the group is doing...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the percussion instrument we're hearing in that?
So the percussion instrument is a Middle Eastern drum it's called many different things, but it could be a darbuka or a dumbek or a table or any number of different names in different languages actually for what the drum is. But it's a Middle Eastern like finger drum primarily, as opposed to like a hand drum like a djembe. And one of our Palestinian singers in the group at the time was playing it. And what it added, of course, was the ability to like really dive deep into that cross rhythm and to sort of hold both of these sort of perspectives at the same time. And what I ultimately did in the arrangement, not just through the clapping, but then was actually overlay an Arabic Christmas carol in the middle of it, which has sort of the like a 4-beat kind of pattern that like relies on the cross rhythm as its rhythm. But it really helped sort of take what would otherwise have been potentially sort of like a foreign kind of non-local music and sort of make it feel not only fresh, but also like a little bit more like belonging to the group that we were working with.
Why don't we listen to that part? So
Cool.
This is the Christmas song that you mentioned. So that kind of polyrhythmic beat underlies both the Carol of the Bells and this song. I thought it was a very cool arrangement. And this was performed on
BBC's
BBC.
Newsnight about 12 years ago now. Wow.
So this was pretty early in the history of the chorus. So you're combining kind of rhythmic elements, but the next arrangement we're going to look at, I think it sounds a little more ambitious. It's a full medley.
Totally crazy.
You mentioned that the students often play a role in creating the arrangements. So the one we're about to look at is called We Wish You.
Yeah.
Were the students involved in creating this at all?
So they were involved in helping me select the songs that we were going to do, particularly the Arabic song Assalamu Alayka, which is like a Muslim pop song, about the Prophet Muhammad, and one that actually our percussionist from back from BBC's Newsnight days is now one of our most important staff, our Palestinian coordinator. And he actually is the one, I think, who selected or suggested Assalamu Alayka as a song that I could throw into this mix as I was looking for. Essentially, this next arrangement is a mashup of 4 holiday songs, some of which are in different, modalities. And it's a bit crazy, but we fit them together.
And different languages, too.
Yeah, exactly. You've got We Wish You a Merry Christmas. You've got Shufi Atfal, which is sort of the Arabic version of Little Drummer Boy. And we can talk more about that later because also the words actually mean totally different things, which is really interesting. You've got Nerli, which is a Hanukkah song. And then at the end, as I brought them all together and I was like, how do I square this circle? I just sort of was like, if we do Happy Holiday and kind of sort of orient where the tonal center is, and then, add a little bit of saxophone over here, like it'll catalyze, become something new. So
Right. Well, I have a couple of clips lined up from this.
Let's do it.
The first is after the Little Drummer Boy section. So you have the beat of the Little Drummer Boy, and then there's a Hanukkah song on top of it. So let's cue that up. So what is this song about?
So Nerli means like I have a candle. It's about the Hanukkah candles, and it means like I have a little, like dakik is like, just like almost like a faint, like just like a meager sort of candle, like, and then b'Chanukah neri adlik, on Hanukkah I will light my candle. I will shine on Hanukkah. I will shine my light. On Hanukkah I will sing my song. Is the sort of meaning of that that portion of the song. And I sort of continued the bum 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 ba-dum bum bum from that as sort of the through line for the whole arrangement.
Awesome. So the next clip I have is the song about the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. Could you tell us the name of that one more time?
Yeah, so it's called Assalamu Alayka, and it's not specifically like a song about the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. There was a bit of squaring the circle here as well, because in the Muslim tradition, there isn't like some big winter holiday that is of the same importance as like Christmas, for example. And even I would argue within the Jewish tradition, actually, Hanukkah is like also not actually as important to Jewish calendar as Christmas is to the Christian calendar. But because we're in the US and sort of Christmas is this big thing, for American Jews in particular, Hanukkah has become like, well, we have Hanukkah, right? But in the spirit of trying to sort of fit different things in, the Prophet Muhammad's birthday like hovers sometime in like fall, winter. It varies because of the calendar. And so I was thinking, how can we, what's the closest thing? I mean, sometimes Ramadan is in the winter, but like Ramadan can be any time.
Because it's still lunar.
And so, but I was getting a little creative, and our percussionist then suggested Assalamu Alayka, and I was like, this song is awesome. And then I was like, this song is in a totally different mode and tonality than the other songs. How do we make it fit? But we did it.
Yeah, let's listen to a bit of it.
يميني جزت برحابك يا طيبة عليها نذر للباري صلاة.
So I have a couple of questions. One is that this is a video, and I see you in the video, and you're playing this zither-like instrument.
Qanun,
Okay. How long have you been playing that instrument?
Well, so I also, it's an amazing Arabic instrument, and it has basically, it works kind of like a harp, in the sense that you have like different like levers, and each string is like specifically for something, but then you can tune each one either to flat, half flat, natural, half sharp, or sharp. And in the Turkish version, you can go even like more crazy microtonal into like there are like 9 levers or whatever. But in the Arabic version, basically it allows you to access the different maqamat, which are the Arabic modes and that system. I learned qanun, actually. I first played a qanun because one of the chorus kids, Layla, was like playing the qanun. And I was like, that instrument seems absolutely impossible, but is so cool. It just has this like magical sound. And she's like, oh, you should try it. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, try it. And so I picked it up and it just made sense to me. Just like the way that it worked. Like I sat down and played an Arabic song on it.
So you mentioned the different tunings of Arabic music. I'm wondering if, for our viewers, if you could explain what that is. How is that different from the way that, Western music is structured?
Yeah, totally. So in Western music, you've basically got, or like in equal temperament or whatever, but you've essentially got the half step is the smallest like official unit of measure.
From one key to the very next on the piano.
Yeah, exactly. In Arabic music, you've got steps between the half steps. And they're not in Western music, for example, if you sing like halfway between, let's say you're in C major and then you're singing like halfway between E flat and E natural, that's wrong. Right. In most cases, right? You're like, that's flat, or like that's sharp, or that's like some version of off of where you're supposed to be. In Arabic music, that note is rast. And like that is just like a totally different flavor and expression, and just gives you access to so many different ways of tapping into feeling and emotion.
Right.
So like, for example, if you're thinking about in Western music, we go like do, re, mi in major, and minor, do, re, mi. In Rast, it's like do, re, mi, right? Yeah. And like, if you were at the symphony, and trying to sing like an operatic piece and you're like, nah, people would be like, bye, you're fired. But in Arabic music, that has like its own sort of expressiveness.
Right.
I wanted to sort of make sure within the Jerusalem Youth Chorus that there was space for that, and that it actually was not only like welcomed, but was actually core to our sound.
Let's talk a little bit about community singing. You've mentioned the Isai Barnwell tradition, and you currently lead the community sing events here at Levine. Could you talk to us a little bit about that tradition, how it got started, kind of what you're doing in these events?
Sure. So I remember when I first went to a community sing when I was in high school, and it absolutely blew my mind. It blew my mind that this kind of thing was even like allowed, like conceptually, like the idea that you could invite random people who don't know each other, who may have 0 to 100 level of musical training, to just come and you can just sing music in harmony, blew my mind.
Yeah.
And so I went up to Dr. Barnwell after that first community sing, and I was like, I want to be your apprentice. She was like, do I need an apprentice? I was like, I don't know. But I was extremely persistent and had already started actually doing some of this exploration of music and social change and the dialogue stuff and whatever. So there was enough that was, I think, of interest to her when I sent her like 10 emails that like eventually, and then came to another community sing to remind her that she was like, okay. So I ended up basically for my senior project in high school, sort of at her knee, essentially. So I ended up transcribing a lot of her arrangements of spirituals and gospel songs and things like that.
Well, I wanted to give the viewers a little flavor of how you get untrained singers to sing in multi-part harmony.
Sure.
Because normally if you're in a chorus, you read your sheet music, you sing your individual lines. So this is a kind of a longer clip. There are 3 different tunes. They all combine together to form harmony.
Yep.
And they're in 3 different languages.
True. Raise your voice, walk with me. Sing that. Raise your voice, walk with me. Keep it going. Raise your voice, walk with me. Keep it up. Raise your voice. All right, Hebrew. Walk with me. And harimi et kolech. Boi iti harimi et kolech. And of course, what you're not hearing is the 800 people in the audience who are not on mic.
Yeah.
I was lucky in this instance to also have a band and some co-musicians.
But prior
And then
to
the groove comes in. You go ahead.
But prior to this point, you've spent a few minutes coaching each of the sections of the audience on their tune.
Exactly. And making sure they're pronouncing it right and all those things, while also not, standing too much on ceremony, because we're ultimately springing this on a random group of people who have no idea that I'm about to ask them to sing in Hebrew or Arabic as well.
So you've got a community sing event coming up here in about a week on December 10th. Are you going to be doing any holiday music on that one?
Totally. Not only, but every community sing, I think about what is the moment that we're finding ourselves in, and then think about what songs would be resonant in that time, and then pick some that may already be arranged. I think at every community sing at this point, I arrange at least one or two new songs for that moment.
And you're going to be very busy the next couple of weeks. You've got the Wassail event in Mount Pleasant coming up on December 13th.
Yes.
So I understand this is an annual tradition where members of the community go out, Christmas carol through the streets. Do they go door to door?
There are certain houses or businesses that sort of say in advance that they want folks to come there, and they've prepared like food and drink and maybe like a place to, get inside and get warm if people want. So we have like a route that's like around the neighborhood. And so we go from station to station, basically singing different kinds of music. And this music also is a lot of Christmas carols, but also is like Hanukkah songs, and also has, more modern Christmas carols like All I Want for Christmas Is You, and various, other things that just make people feel cozy and warm. And that's really the fun of it.
All right. Well, Micah, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your insights. It's inspiring to hear how music can create connection and dialogue across boundaries. For viewers, I hope you'll join us on December 13th for Wassailing in Mount Pleasant. Thank you for watching.